Hey everybody, I just wanted to make a quick video here talking about the science for this week. It was about, we had a couple questions where we were comparing two climate zones. The first question was to kind of tell about the differences between those two climate zones from the video. What is the difference between the climate of the Moab Desert and Iceland? And then to give at least 2 reasons why climate can be different in different areas. So first thing, let's tackle that first question. What we have to do is describe what is the difference between the Moab Desert's climate and Iceland's climate. And so the Moab Desert is an arid climate zone, dry, it's desert-like. So when you're writing out your response, tell me things that you see in the picture here. What do you see in this picture of the Moab Desert? What does it look like to you? From what you know about deserts, are deserts usually really hot? What does the picture tell you? And then go on to tell me about Iceland. That's the next picture here. And we can see in Iceland, it's not as dry. It's got more rainfall, warmer summer and colder winter. It's in a temperate climate zone. So tell me about both of these, what you see in the picture. Describe the two pictures for me if you're answering that first question. Second question in our science for this week is give at least 2 reasons why climate can be different in different areas. So this is one of the theories they talked about in the video, which is when you have a mountain and there's usually around a mountain, there's going to be water somewhere. So we see in this picture, there's a sea. It says sea level. And so the water evaporates and goes into the sky. But the mountain blocks the clouds from going any further. The clouds just kind of stop there, and all the precipitation, so the rain, just falls on this first side of the mountain, which is the windward side. And then the rest of the mountain, nothing really happens. They call it the leeward side of the mountain. It's usually very, very dry. So deserts are usually on the leeward side of a mountain. So this right here, this is one reason a climate can be different in one area. Because if it's behind a mountain, it's most likely going to be a desert there, like what we saw earlier in the Moab Desert. So that's one reason climate can be different, one cause of climate zones. Look at the next one here. So this is a little picture I drew. And another thing that causes different climate zones is the sun. So we see here we have the sun on the left. The blue circle is supposed to be Earth. And we can see that the green little dot, that would be where the Moab Desert is, which we know is really hot. And up a little bit further up is a blue dot for Alaska, which I'm pretty sure everybody here knows Alaska is a place that's really, really cold. So why is the Moab Desert really hot and why is Alaska cold? It has to do with the sun. We can see that the sun, the heat from the sun and the sunlight, the sun's rays hit the Moab Desert very directly. It's like right there. So I would compare this to, like, imagine it's summertime and it's noon and you look up and the sun is right above you. It's just beating down on you from really high in the sky. Usually that's the hottest part of the day. You might start feeling really tired there. So when the sun is right above you and it's looking straight down at you, that's where it's going to be the hottest. So we see that the sun looks right at the Moab Desert. It's just smack looking at it. It's going to be really hot there. Alaska is a lot farther up, so the sunlight has to travel a lot farther to get there, and it's coming at an angle. So it's not directly hitting Alaska. It's coming in at an angle. We see it's going up a little bit. So this is kind of like, I would compare it to like sunset in the summertime. You know that in the summertime, when the sun starts setting, it's getting lower in the sky. It usually starts to get a little bit cooler outside at that time. People are, it's not as hot and tired as the middle of the day in the summer. So compare it to that. The further away you get from the directness of the sun's light, the colder it is. And that's one reason that there's different climate zones, because of where the sun is beating. We also have a picture that didn't load, so I'm gonna just go really quick to there's the picture I'm looking for. Okay, we have so they talked about another thing in the video. They talked about how if you have some water near you that is very warm, that can warm up your climate also. So in the middle here, there's like a little red star. I starred it. That's where Iceland is, where they talked about in the beginning of the video. And what Iceland has is it has the Gulf Stream that passes by it. And there's a certain current that brings that stream around Iceland. So around Iceland is all this warm water, which warms up the whole climate of Iceland itself. So we can see that red line is the Gulf Stream, which brings warm water up. And it surrounds Iceland, and it warms that climate up. So we can also see if you have a warmer water around you, that also affects your climate. And lastly, another thing they talked about that causes different climate zones is the greenhouse effect. So let's look at this picture together. So it says, in the last century, human activities such as burning fossil fuels and deforestation, so that's like burning coal or cutting trees down so there's less trees, these have caused a jump in the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. So usually there's this layer of greenhouse gases around the earth that protect it from too much sunlight. So if we have that layer of gases around the earth, it protects us from too much sunlight getting in. It lets in just the right amount for us to live. But because we are cutting trees down and burning so much coal and things like that and creating pollution in the air, these gases are kind of not really doing their job anymore. And we're starting to get a temperature rise because more sunlight is able to get through. And this is, according to the video, this is not a good thing, because if the temperature gets higher, things that are covered in ice might start to melt, like the polar ice caps, and that could cause a lot of flooding in places we don't want it to flood. Okay, so I would, if the video was a little bit tricky, watch it again. It's a really short video. It's only like 5 minutes. And look through this presentation. Use this to help you write about the difference between the Moab Desert and Iceland, and then choose 2 of these that we talked about to try to explain. And as always, message me if you have a question. Hope everyone